All right, welcome to part one of my Healthy Vegan Holiday Cooking Special, where I show you how to make all these delicious food for the holidays. I got my main dishes, my sides, and my desserts. Today, healthy vegan pulled turkey with gravy and cornbread dressing, all made with no oil, no wheat, no refined sugar, no rice. And today, I'm going to show you how to make your own. Okay, so one of the hardest things to find a healthy vegan replacement for when you're doing holiday cooking is turkey, but I've got you covered. Now you may look at this plate and think, what in the world are these? These are oyster mushrooms. They're big and they're beautiful, and I'm gonna cook them and season them in a way that you'll absolutely love. You won't even be thinking about turkey anymore. You'll be asking for more of these. Let's get started.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is start by removing the core from the oyster mushrooms. Now the larger the mushroom, the larger the core, so these are pretty big. Next, I'm shredding my mushrooms by simply pulling them apart into strips like you see me doing here.
Okay, it was a little bit of work, but 10 to 15 minutes later, I've got them all shredded and in the pan here. Now I'm going to get them cooking, and once they cook down a bit, we're going to add all of our seasonings that are going to give them that perfect flavor. We'll talk about what those are once we start adding them. Right now, let's get our vegan turkey cooking.
Now, I don't add any oil, water, or broth when cooking mushrooms because mushrooms exude so much water on their own. So I'm just going to cover them with the top and trap the steam until they start releasing water. Then I'll remove the lid and continue cooking them from there.
Okay, so the process here is that I cook the mushrooms some. I turn them repeatedly and let them cook more. They exude water. The water starts to dissipate. And I've been doing that for a while, maybe about 8 to 10 minutes now. And now that I've got a lot of the water evaporated, as you can see here, and the mushrooms are starting to brown, it's now time to add my spices, which is what I'm going to do right now.
Now, as I always say, the flavor is in the seasonings. And here I'm adding things like sage and thyme to bring those holiday flavors to these mushrooms. Now, I'm often asked about where to purchase these mushrooms, and they can usually be found at your local health food store, Asian market, international market, or depending where you're located, the farmer's market. Now, they won't always be as big and beautiful as the ones I have here, but that's okay. Smaller mushrooms will work also. It's all about the seasonings. Okay, now let's move on to our next dish.
All right, so one food that is definitely a staple around the holidays is gravy. A great gravy is great on our vegan turkey or on our mashed potatoes. We're gonna make a delicious, healthy vegan version of gravy today. Here's what we're gonna use. We're gonna use a yellow onion, some vegetable broth, some cannellini beans, some sage, and some thyme. I've got some coconut aminos, nutritional yeast, some garlic granules, some miso paste, and then some mushroom powder to really get that umami flavor amped up. Now, the mushroom powder is optional if you don't have it or if you don't, care for it. You don't have to use it, but it just makes it even more flavorful. Either way, it's going to be great. Let's put it together.
Okay, so for the gravy, we're going to begin by sauteing some onions until they start to soften and caramelize a bit.
Okay, so I've got the onions cooked. Now it's time to take all of our ingredients and get them combined and blend it really well. Then we're going to move them into the pot and get them on the stove.
So this is a super healthy alternative to a traditional gravy. I'm using a base of onions and beans, but don't worry, it's packed with flavor and will complement your vegan turkey or your mashed potatoes perfectly.
All right, so now everything is blended, and it's just a matter of getting it back in our pan and then heating it up, and it's ready to pour.
Now, keep in mind, if you're making this gravy in advance, there's no need to heat it up until you're ready to serve it. If you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe below.
All right, so let's talk about what we're going to use to make this delicious cornbread dressing. Now, first thing we have to do is make our actual cornbread. And to do that, we're going to start with this organic cornmeal. Now, organic is a key word when you're talking about corn products, because if you buy a non-organic corn product, it's going to be GMO'd, and that's something I try to avoid. I've done a lot of research, and I'm comfortable eating corn products here and there as long as they're organic, and that's what this is. We've got some oat flour, we've got some millet flour, some walnut milk, a little salt, some applesauce, some date paste, some baking soda and powder, some nutritional yeast, some apple cider vinegar, and then some turmeric and black pepper. And these are the ingredients that are going to make up our cornbread that we're going to use to make this delicious dressing. Let's get started.
Okay, first things first, I'm going to begin by getting all my dry ingredients added into the bowl, and once they are, I'm going to mix them together really well.
All right, so we've got our dry ingredients combined. Now we're going to combine our wet ingredients and put them together.
So people often ask me, how do you make bread without using any oil or butter? And because this is oil-free cooking, I'm going to let the applesauce and the date paste add moisture to this cornbread. Now, once the batter is mixed, it's time to add it to our pan and then give it a bake. And just like that, a beautiful cornbread.
All right, so I got the cornbread cooked and I set it aside. Now it's time to get the vegetables that I'm going to mix with the cornbread to make the dressing prepared. And what we're going to use is some organic onion, some celery, some carrots. I got some sage, some thyme, and some garlic here, and then some vegetable broth that I made. Now, you know, in regular cooking, if you were going to caramelize these onions and get them soft and give them some flavor, you would use oil. But of course, we don't use oil, but that's what the broth is for. You could even do it with water. So I'm going to get this started now. Add a little broth to the pan. Now I always have extra broth set aside because as I cook the onions or cook any vegetable, if I notice that it starts to dry out or get too dry, the broth is right here. And I've got extra to add to it as I go. All right, let's do it.
If you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe below.
Okay, so I've been cooking my onions for about 7 or 8 minutes. I would cook it until the broth was just about gone and then add a little more broth, add a little more broth. I did that about 3 times. Now my onions are nice and getting to the point where they're caramelized, so I'm going to add the other veggies now, starting with the celery. Okay, so I've been cooking my veggies now for about another 10 minutes, and I wanted to share something with you about trying to caramelize veggies without the use of oil. So what I've been doing is I've been cooking the veggies, and I've been adding a little broth. And as I do that, I'm waiting for the veggies to start to stick. And when the veggies start to stick, they start to exude the sugars, and you can see the sugars getting stuck to the pan here, right? And so then I add a little broth so that I can loosen up those sugars and mix them back into the veggies. And that's how you get the flavors in here and get that sweet taste, and that's how you caramelize your veggies. And so again, you want to cook your veggies with the broth just until the point where they start sticking. When they stick, add a little more broth, mix them around, get those flavors mixed in, repeat the process until they're nice and caramelized. So that's what I've been doing. All right, so now I've got everything ready. I've got my cornbread done. We got our veggies done. Now it's just a matter of cutting our cornbread into cubes, getting it in the pan, and then mixing the veggies with it. Let's do it.
So here I'm cutting my cornbread into about 1.5-inch cubes. I want to have the pieces large enough that there are still some nice sized pieces of cornbread once we get all our other ingredients added to the pan. Then it's time to add the cooked veggies to our cornbread, and we're almost ready to get it into the oven.
Okay, so I've got my cornbread and my veggies in the pan and they're ready. One more thing to do though, I'm going to mix some of this ground flax with some plant milk here. Now typically I use walnut milk. If you've been watching, you know I love my walnuts and my walnut milk. However, because I'm making this stuffing, I wanted to use a milk with a little more higher fat content. So I'm using cashew milk to go on this particular dish. Okay, so my flax is in there. We're going to mix it up a bit. And now we're going to pour it over top, get it mixed, and in the oven.
Now, although I'm using cashew milk, any plant milk will do the trick. Now it's time to give everything a gentle mix, taking special care not to break the cornbread up too much. Then it's into the oven, and once it's baked, I'm going to add some chopped parsley, and that's it.
All right, so day 1 of our holiday special is in the books. We have done our main dishes, we've done our turkey, we've done our gravy, and we've done our cornbread dressing. 3 great dishes, all came out amazingly good. Make sure to tune in tomorrow because we're gonna do our sides. Thanks for watching. So if you're new to my channel and wanna know how to find the recipes, look below the video for the word more. Tap on the word more and you'll see the beginning of the recipe. Tap on the word more a second time and you'll see the full recipe. Then you can begin to make your own. Thanks for watching.